fear a long time, I tell you, you know. The People National Party with Mark Golding, they do have no plan, they do have no aim to Jamaica. And we must ensure that we do everything to keep them away from this country because they don't know here, my brethren.
What did you see? What did you see in Parliament yesterday that causes you to conclude that the parliamentary opposition has no plans and workable proposals for Jamaica?
Good. All right. Listen, I hear a tape this morning. But before we go to the tape, I hear anti-favor first. Yesterday in the budget debate. I don't know if you hear this part, but she said, Madam Speaker, when we present our budget, the opposition did not. In other words, they did not say anything wrong. In other words, in my term. You understand? We cut it on in a shorter way. They did not object to our budget. So in other words, when Favor put out our plans for the budget 2025-26, and the Prime Minister come and do his thing on Thursday, they did not about the budget. They didn't say what we can't do. You remember the part of
yeah, man, I remember. So they didn't have any technical criticism to the budget. They only went about criticizing certain things like taking money from the NHT, taking money from the receivables from Norman International Airport.
Yeah, and remember it's a budget. So we can't work if they support for Marlon. I'm not disagreeing with you. We don't come here this morning and say, Marlon, you make a line of argument that I don't like. The other thing now, Mark Golding. Did I hear Mark Golding say he did not present a budget for this fiscal year? Did I hear that?
That is what he said. Not we, not you. The gentleman said it.
Okay, because what he outlined is what for when the PNP come into power. What kind of people am I imagine? I mean, him say Moringa Hope this man live back at 14 press conference. When man Julia Robinson, you know that way, you know the person. Think about William, tell them how much they must sell them for the final. I tell 6 7 yesterday in the election.
Yeah, because if you fail to do your homework, you end up having somebody doing your homework for you.
But let me tell you something. While the reason why I'm not out of fact, me and something I do, it's really over the morning now.
Yeah.
I hear a top journalist in this country, Mr. Cliff Hughes, I hear him said the PNP have become intellectual lazy. And what then they better Marlon and sit down, waiting on the IT report, depending upon it, and think that based on what is coming out of the IT report is going to push them into Jamaica House because the Prime Minister is going to find guilty somewhere or the other. Well, that note not
I've heard that perspective as well. And recall, Fox. Last August, Julian Robinson was speaking at the conference of the PNP's women movement, right?
Yes.
He essentially signaled, he telegraphed to the country that we were going to have elections soon because reports were going to come to Parliament in September and it is going to trigger early elections. So he was imploring comrades to be ready and get ready.
So
that's what they were banking on. He didn't see fit to come with a budget debate presentation that made sense and was appropriately costed. He's speaking to Marlon, I see.
In other words, I can't take upon them, Mr. Marlon. Can't take upon them. You understand? And we tell you, the Jamaican people are very, last thing we must practically because them, remember now, we already seen it from afar that the PNP is not ready to govern this country.
Alright, hear you loud and clear, Chief. I got to run to another call now. You have given us your bit. Yeah, man, in 10 seconds. Go ahead, wrap up. This Garfield Higgins, we not hear him again, man. He writes in the Sunday Observer sometimes. Yeah. He sent an email. I think when people write in the newspapers, you would normally see an access point of providing feedback to them. You don't usually see an email address, I suspect. So you can always email him. Yeah. Big up yourself here, everybody. I'm going to keep focused because my duty now, everybody have to bring out every single vote. All right, hear you loud and clear, Sir Fox. All right. We are going to go back to the phone lines. Good morning, caller. Welcome to Straight Up. Hello, good morning. Welcome to the program.
Hello.
Yes, good morning, sir. You're on.
Yeah,
You're live on radio.
Man.
Oh boy, this tell me that somehow I don't know what is wrong with the opposition leader, and he don't know if he believes that Jamaican are fools, that he think he can just say things and without merit, and persons just buying for it. Yesterday I was listening to the budget debate, and he rose on a point of order to say that the minister was misleading the House, because he didn't say it was implicit, implied budget.
Yeah, he said they didn't present an implied budget. Yeah.
Right. So and he said the minister was misleading the House. Then what was he doing to the House and the Jamaican people? Because this was a budget debate, and if it's a budget debate, then the people would take it that he debating a budget, and a budget is what is forecast of what he's going to spend and how he's going to run and what the things that he's going to do within the budget. And so his thing was, it wasn't an implied budget. It was a forecast or a proposal of what they will do when they come to power for the next 5 years.
All right, let me share this with you, caller.
So it's a manifesto of our budget. I don't get it.
But even if it is a manifesto, as you can appreciate, sir, whether it is a manifesto or a budget, yes? You see, whatever you are articulating or proposing as the parliamentary opposition, meaning the set of people seeking to dislodge the government and form government in the country, it has to be appropriately thought out, appropriately considered, and it should be coherent, cogent, credible, and compelling.
And, on top of that, he went on to say that the fact that the budget would delay and pass, right, in the House, then, to me, based on my interpretation, then if they come to power, they would not be doing anything more than just run with that budget. So then that is the point they want to bring across the Jamaican people. Why change the current administration?
There you go. So they're defeating their own platform, because what he's saying, the opposition leader, among other things, was telegraphing that the PNP's hands will be tied because the budget has been passed, the budget has largely been cast, and yes, we know that there are some things that they would have to, deliver on in terms of commitments. But that notwithstanding, as an incoming government, or any government for that matter, can effect tweaks to a budget to reflect its priorities, provided that what you're proposing to do and what you deem as a priority are things that can happen within the fiscal parameters. And the very point we're making here is that the proposals, the alternatives that have been placed on the table by the opposition PNP are not feasible. They're not, in other words, you can't be giving up so much revenue while at the same time proposing to do so much more. We all would want every student, not just those on path, to get a lunch provided by the state at schools. Everybody would want that. Yes? Everybody would want to be able to give NHC applicants the down payment on a house. But there are some things that you have to do to get to that point, which is remaining responsible with the management of the economy, growing the economy so that more tax revenues are generated, so that government can do more for you, me, my producer, my co-host on this program, and the rest of Jamaica. That's the key point.
So the point is now is that they throw something out there that seems to the ordinary man that this is very good, right? And therefore that would stick without the more in terms of what that would cost, right? And therefore to the ordinary person who don't understand, they hope that they get a buy-in as a result. But what Favorite Williams did, right, is uproot that when she come to present the numbers. And this is why it forced him to get up to say this was not a budget. It was a proposal for the next 5 years, right? And it reminds me of what he did when he went overseas, talking about if they're afraid to give the JLP, give the public what it is that they will do right? Because they're afraid that the JLP will steal it, right? And then turn around when they come to the budget debate, bring back the 4, 5, well, they leave off environment, right? 4 E's of the 5 E's that Andrew Holness had mentioned in terms of growing the economy from 2012.
That's right.
That is so disingenuous. And they're now saying that the JLP is afraid to tell the people because they're afraid the JLP sees it. So
all right,
they know what they were
let me cast your mind to something, Carla. The average person tuning into the budget debate and hearing that the parliamentary opposition is going to do this and that and so on, when do you anticipate that they would expect that to begin happening? Would it be 4 years from now, or 5 years from now, or even 3 years from now? No more soon o'clock.
Yeah, of course, yeah. Soon o'clock, as in within the year, because this is a budget debate for the year.
There you go, sir.
So this is why they did what they did, and that's why they couldn't provide no figures.
So now we're realizing that the fact that they didn't cost the budget, the fact that they didn't outline costing,
that was misleading the Jamaican people and deceiving them.
Yeah. All right, we're going to have to leave it there, sir, as we facilitate another call. Thanks for your input this morning.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. Go ahead.
Remember, lines are available. Call us 212-9824 or 462-0919. Do call in and share your views this morning with us. We run to the phone lines yet again. Good morning. Welcome to Straight Up.
Morning, Senator Marlon.
Yeah, greetings, Chief. How are you?
I'm giving time. What a rebuttal yesterday, Senator.
Yes, I found it to be very effective, the framework within which you operate. What are your thoughts on it?
Well, it couldn't be better yesterday, Senator, but it left us to think that we don't have an opposition that can't think for themselves. You just come with, you just jump on figures and say 10 and 14 and just put it on the paper and carry it up.
Because, put it this way, I'm going to share something with you. Mouth make for talk anything, and it is easy to provide a pie in the sky wish list to say that, listen, of the hundreds of thousands of students that we have in school, we're going to give each of them at a public education institution lunch and breakfast. Because at present, you know,
send them to university.
At present, right? At present, the government provides for some of the most vulnerable in our society, so certain students on path. But at schools, and the opposition PNP knows this, at schools there are some people who are near poor and are vulnerable. So although they're not on path, when they go to the guidance council and so on at schools, they are facilitated in, for the most part, in terms of a meal solution. Exactly. And they know this. So you don't have people at school, for example, who are literally dying of hunger. That is not what happens. They are trying to paint a picture and give the impression that we have people at school, yes, youngsters, we fly a pitch on them out, like when you watch some programs and you say, I'm a bang belly child in Somalia with fly a pitch on them out.
If fly did a pitch on anybody mouth in the 1990s when a lot of people investment, including my own, in mash up in the 90s.
When belly up, yeah.
But I like how Mrs. Williams, the Minister of Finance, carry a map and joy it and show them how you do business and the foolishness that they're talking about. It couldn't be better. She draw a full map and teach, she beat them and teach them. What do you call that? Beat and teach. Because people just get up and just fly them out. Chicks, as you call those type of people. Chicks. They want to trick people for them votes. They don't want to work for the person vote. They don't want to trick people and get your vote. But to think how to get people out of problem. And just did it. But still, what I think, as we say, all of us, them did that depend on the Corrupted Integrity Commission. It helped them to get rid of unjust of Jamaica House. But it doesn't work. And for it to work, they don't know where to turn. That is the biggest problem.
I share something with the caller. There's a thing called the misery index. You know, in any country you have some pain points. A lot of the pain points, quite frankly, in Jamaica, though, are not necessarily creations of the incumbent government, this Andrew Holness-led Jamaica Labour Party government. So when you think of price increases that we had coming out of COVID, it is because of what you call exogenous shocks. In other words, coming out of COVID, the cost of shipping went up. You had some challenges in logistics and supply chains, and therefore a higher cost for shipping mean that you have a higher cost for the goods that are shipped.
Mr. Morgan, Senator Morgan,
yes,
you don't have, I don't know you don't have to tell me that.
No, I'm saying that
maybe you need to call Julian, maybe you need to call Julian and him leader and explain things like that. Anybody with a common brain will know that it's because of the shipping and the whole part the war, then after the war did all start on Russia. All of those things come into play. So you have to talk to like person who doesn't understand like Julian and Morgan about and Julian and Mark Bowling about what anybody will have any little common sense will know that for themselves.
Yes.
Because somebody will have some brain to teach them.
All right, thanks so much for your call this morning, sir.
Okay, sir. Have a blessed day.
Good. All the best. Remember our call-in lines, 876-212-9824 or 876-462-0919. Those are our call-in lines. You're tuned to Straight Up, of course, and I'm your host, Marlon Morgan. Together we have another call-in line. Good morning, caller. Welcome to the program.
Hello, Mr. Morgan.
Yes, good morning, ma'am. Welcome to Straight Up.
Yesterday I was watching the budget, and I just sit there when I see Mark get up and point of order, and I just sit there, and I just start staring at the television because I could not believe what I was hearing.
Yeah.
All I could say is, "Oh my God." Oh my God.
And that's because your understanding of the budget debate over the years would have been that the budget debate is about the numbers that are before us and what you're planning to do based on the numbers that are possible and so on, right?
Yes.
But the gentleman taught us something new yesterday.
I don't know what is happening. All these people go around and do is telling lies. See this one out of St. Thomas? I talk about him how much money for coffee.
Yeah, so you're referring to Hubert Williams, I gather.
Yes.
He's the PNP's caretaker.
Can't give you no price for no coffee.
He's the PNP's proposed caretaker.
I used to pick coffee down in the Blue Mountain.
Because
I don't know what these people do. Every day you see them tell lies.
Because you know, caller, you know that it is essentially market forces. The government can't go to a purchaser of Blue Mountain coffee in the country and dictate to them that the coffee is to be bought at $10 or $15 per box. It is market forces that determine, because all of us, yourself and me and others, yes, Andrew Holness and Mark Golding, would want our coffee farmers, our hard-working and deserving men and women who invest in coffee in Jamaica and grow them little thing. We would want them to get as high a price, as best a price as possible for their product. No, so?
Exactly my point.
That's right.
Exactly my point. And these people won't stop go around the country and tell lies. And some of these people out, see, when you hear them talking, it's like them convinced. I may say to them, say, listen. My grandmother always tell me, say, listen, even if you don't have education, you have to have common sense.
No, that's true. Because even if you never darken the door of a university.
And I have a burning issue with JUTC.
Yeah, what's that?
Right. You see, between 12 and 2, if you go downtown, you don't get a bus.
Which route is now? What route is your route?
12, 3, all of those buses. Portmore bus I'm talking about.
All right, so you're referring to downtown, meaning city, to Christian Gardens, a.k.a. Gregory Park, and the 12 route, which is my route, which, well, at least when I used to be in Portmore. Yeah.
Any one of those routes there.
You don't get anything typically between midday and 2?
Yeah. And you see the workers them down there? I think the government paying them for doing nothing. And I have no apology for that. You know the reason why? Because they're sitting that yellow bus down there is like a creech. Everybody pick me in at the bus. There's a bus park there, and them sit down in there, and you in the boiling sun.
Yeah. Okay, you're referring primarily to South Parade. You're referring to the South Parade area. Yeah.
Yes.
All right, when you go there, when next you have this experience, right? I want you to take...
Mr. Morgan, up the week before last week, I was downtown, leave work, going home because I watch Parliament on Tuesdays. Because I don't want nobody tell me nothing I want to hear.
You see and hear for yourself.
So I go home to watch Parliament. You hear me, I tell you?
Yeah.
Me say these people collect them, pick me, and have them in the yellow bus down there like it's a creech. Them in the yellow bus, I look down town way, in the boiling sun, no customer service.
So this creature you're describing, right? When that happens, what? The bus is out of commission, you're saying? Meaning the bus is just parked, but them not take up no load? They're not...
No, there is no bus, understand?
Oh.
No bus. Because, you know, it's a period of when they're changing.
Oh, like a shift change
me?
also?
But me never know, so everybody change one time, and there's no bus. Listen, the problem is not the bus now, because we understand that the evening shift's going to come on, and it's going to take a little time. The problem is they have no customer service. Them sit down in the big yellow bus, the creech bus that down there, with them who all of them pick the way them collect from school, and nobody don't come out. Come say to the
that's what I mean. That word alone makes the point.
Bus.
Yeah.
Let me just explain. We are changing bus, so it's gonna take a little time. The whole of them sit down at the bus while we sit down, turn up in the heat downtown. It's unacceptable.
No, I concur if that is what happens. Yeah. Because the idea is that the word that you have used...
No, I started to go to half a tree now. Because I don't have no time, because you see, evening time, Mr. Morgan, let me tell you something. Let me tell you something. Jamaica have a lot of problems, you know, and it's getting better each and every day. We're getting, because I see that the government is trying. Nobody can say this government is not trying. Nobody. And anybody says that, they're blind. But what I am saying... If you in charge of downtown, come out, you know, let's look at customer service and say, passengers, the bus is going to be late, or make a phone call and say, so and so and so and so and so and so. Nobody will stand up in the boiling sun downtown and them sit down in the the big yellow bus with them picnic, cause a creech in there.
I see what I mean, and I understand the frustration, because in all operations, you must have the operations rostered and queued up in such a way that if people are at lunch or if people are doing a shift change, you still have continuity. So you shouldn't have any undue or inordinate delay in relation to the provision of the service.
2 hours we stand up downtown and them in the bus, a shelter with them picking like a creech. And we stand up in the sun, nobody to come out and say nothing to it. If we don't take the bus, them don't get paid now. Them don't get paid.
There are some of them who don't feel that way.
I understand them.
Yeah. Probably there are some who don't feel that way. They feel that, listen, whether the company performs or not.
You need, because I know you want to communicate to the JLP. You need to talk to Mr. Valls about this. It cannot continue. And you know what happens in the evenings too? They need to have a system downtown. That's when the bus come, everybody not rushing the bus. Because you stand up at the bus stop and people rob you.
Yeah, the pickpockets.
Last year, I was at a tree bus stop waiting, you know, because I'm a push, I'm saying, I'm not the pushing. I'm stand up at the front of the bus. I have this earring because I went away for the summer. And I have this earring. It's a gold-plated earring. Not a gold, but you see through it brand new, it's pretty.
Look pretty, yeah.
You know, me just see somebody hold me from behind me, Mr. Morgan. And the next thing we know, me just hear the 2 ears in plop out of my ears.
So I'm going with it,
you hear me, Mr. Morgan? Everybody there, every strike.
So you turn on and shot the person in a box.
Me said by the time me turn around the way home, me frightened. Me not see nobody, so when me go up in the bus, somebody in the bus that show me the boy. Stand up at the 12 bus stop like him not do nothing.
Yeah. All right. Have to leave it there though, but have to leave it here. Yeah, have to leave it there, but thanks for bringing this to our attention. I'll escalate this complaint to the relevant people. because we cannot have, commuters on public transport system being inconvenienced in this kind of way, and then the insensitivity, as you're saying, with respect to the lack of customer service. So thanks for bringing this to our perspective, to our attention.
To do something. Thanks for talking to you.
All right, thanks.
All right.
All right, we're on to the 10 o'clock, and then we come back at 10:10 with perspectives from Kevin O'Brien Chang in relation to the budget debate last afternoon. As it were, to the closing contribution to the budget debate by the finance minister last afternoon.
I'm going to simplify it in one sentence. One party did their homework and one party didn't. The JLP presented a credible budget, reasonable and, usual election goodies and stuff, which was well received. And at the blunt, the PNP was just plain lazy. They costed nothing in their presentations. And when the costs are Favor Williams, who did very well, and it's very funny with Favor. She was not a popular education minister, but she's become quite a popular finance minister. And I think mainly because her passion shows in her life. Her passion was not in education, but her passion is in finance. You can see the enthusiasm, the spark in her eyes. She's a different person,
That's true.
Anyway.
It's like her habitat. She's now in her habitat, as it were.
Yeah, exactly the point. She's her natural habitat now. She was not home in education. And that goes to show how the same person in different circumstances can come across as two different people.
Indeed.
So she's animated, lively, warm. She's seen as cold in education.
Indeed.
But hey, she's where she is now and she's at home and doing well, and the public seems to have been taken with her. But the PNP was just plain lazy. They did not do the homework that a political party seeking office is supposed to do. Come with a credible plan, cost their plans, and then come with the most feeble excuse ever put forward. I was making a budget presentation. What is this, a budget debate? I mean, what are you going to try? You're going to try to change the parameters of what the whole thing has been in 50 years now, having budget debates?
Because
come back to the point. Sheer plain laziness.
And it is not, difficult to see why there would be a jettisoning, as it were, of the confines and constraints of the budget debate. Because the budget debate, you have to articulate things and do so within the parameters of what is fiscally possible. In other words, what the finances of the country at this given time can do. And therefore, to the extent that what we heard in the budget debate from the parliamentary opposition may invariably be considered as a wish list, promising to give students at schools a meal supported by government, and of course first in the family going to education, going to university, to the tune of $30 billion based on Favor's calculations. Because these things are out of whack, it now becomes obvious why there's a redefining of the budget debate and their intent in these debates.
What is a budget? Define budget.
Exactly. A budget, for the benefit of our listeners, Kevin, is essentially an outline of proposed expenditure and proposed income, or anticipated income. So it sets out your financial parameters.
Exactly. You can have a small budget for your grocery bill you're going to buy today. You can have a big budget for a country, right? But a budget has numbers that you use to estimate
what is what
you're going to spend and what you can afford.
Because I used an example this morning that it makes no sense to have $10,000 in a pocket and you go to any supermarket across Jamaica and push two big trolleys. The two just don't reconcile, it don't compute.
And that I said, so for an opposition leader to say this wasn't a budget I presented. Well, what are you doing? What do you think budget means? It shows a lack of understanding the job. Or even understanding what you're not only your job, but what you are there, the whole presentation, budget debate, what it is about. And I come back to the point, Mark Golding is certainly not a foolish man. He's a very smart man. But as a lawyer, as a businessman, very extremely successful. So it's not a lack of capacity. It can only be a lack of a lack of
It's political gravitas and savvy. It's political savvy.
A lack of willingness to do the work. Willingness to do the work.
Oh, well, there you go. That kind of
It's a lack of willingness to do the job that you were given.
Well, I had a caller just now, Kevin.
It falls as much for Julian Robinson too, who did not put the numbers there.
Yeah.
They did not think it through. Some of the ideas weren't bad, but they did not do the work to cost their budget. And as I said, that is, in my view, the great sin of what they did in this thing.
All right.
You have to do the work. If you're not willing to do the work in opposition, how can I trust you to do the work in government?
Exactly.
And that is what many Jamaicans are saying. That is my fault. I mean, I said these are not foolish men. But why were they not willing to do the work that is required to present a credible budget that's costed and all that? As I said, it's they must look within themselves.
So that gaffe, that neglect, as it were, created an opportunity for the Finance Minister, Kevin O'Brien Chang, which she availed herself of, which she utilized yesterday to operate in her rebuttal, the closing contribution to the budget debate, within the framework of, well, this is what their plans will cost relative to what our outline costs, and therefore it gives you hard numbers based on the Finance Minister's own estimates and parameters as to whether what the Parliament representative presented was credible. Your assessment, Kevin, of the framework within which she operated. She presented the PNP's ledger based on what they are proposing to do, in addition to the revenues they are proposing to give up.
She did what a finance minister is supposed to do. She costed out everything, showed her costs, and then the opposition costs. And as I said, she spent her time at the computer on her spreadsheet doing the work, or having, with her team. She spent her time, engaged her brain, did the work. So as I come back to the point, the specifics are not that critical, and they're good. I mean, they're clear. But the difference was, one was willing to do needed work, and the other one, for whatever reason, it's hard to grasp. This is a pre-election budget debate. You thought both parts, it's a football game.
Yeah.
You think both of them would come to play, but one came to us, lays around and do nothing. But the other one was kicking the ball and running up and down and, doing the work. And as I said, that overshadows everything to me. The lack of motivation the PNP seems to have to do their work.
The lack of a workman-like posture. The workman-like posture to in a granular way.
To do the work. Yeah,
because
it is inexplicable for a political party seeking to gain power, not to do. They came with a plan and it didn't like it and all, that's fine. And numbers and all that.
All right, Kevin.
As I say, you can lose a game, but that's at least like you show up and play the game and show up. They didn't show up.
I'll give you an example, and I give our listeners an example, because people like me would have been there before. In January of 2016, there was the build out in the JLP's back office of 1.5. It's by the time we came to market with 1.5 in the February, we had hammered out things in such a way, yes, that we had a proposal to make persons who earn up to $1.5 billion not pay income tax in the country, which is different from what we ended up having to deliver when we ultimately formed government in March 2016. But that was coming back to the manifesto undertaking. What we did was to indicate the things that were being pursued by the incumbent government of the day, the Simpson administration, that we would either tweak or discontinue. And we sought to set out, Kevin, we had to outline where we were going to make up the X billions of dollars in order to deliver the 1.5, which we did. And one of them being, I remember it vividly, the oil hedge that the PNP took out, we indicated in no uncertain terms that a JLP-led government, a JLP-formed government, would discontinue the business of an oil hedge. I don't know if commentators like yourself may recall that, but we itemized, we enumerated, we set out how it is that we were going to fund 1.5. And the oil hedge, I vividly recall, was one of the things we demonstrated and indicated that we were not going to continue with, because we felt in opposition at the time, and still do now, that based on the market dynamics, it was an inopportune time to have taken out the oil hedge. All the signals were suggesting that the oil market was going south.
But as I say now, what is even doubly strange or triply strange, Art Golding is a founder of one of the largest banks in Jamaica. He's used to doing numbers. So he has people that does numbers for him, for his company. How can you be, you have the capacity, you do the job for your company, when you come to the country, I want to be Prime Minister, and you don't show me the numbers? I really am at loss to understand why they did not put the numbers.
No, well, I know why. No, the pull for them, the political pull, was to really present a raft of things that would make their platform almost irresistible, so attractive that it is almost irresistible for the electorate.
Yeah, that's a campaign speech, or it's a conference speech.
Yeah.
A budget speech, you must understand.
Which is where they made a mistake now. Yeah.
That is, you have every party promises and all that, and plans and all that, fine. But not in a debate. Be budget the numbers, how much I'm gonna spend, how much I'm gonna spend.
Yeah.
That is exactly the budget debate is for. So maybe it's some misunderstanding, not grasping. I don't know. As I say, it's inexplicable what went down.
And then there's this other element.
I don't know what the PNP. I don't know that press conference. How they're going to explain this to rational people? I don't know why they didn't come to the budget debate with the budget speech.
Yeah.
That is what they're saying. They're saying, well, budget speech. So why will you come to a budget debate and present a budget speech? As I said, as a Jamaican, I can't grasp it.
At 11 o'clock this morning, in other words, a few minutes from now, Kevin, the parliamentary opposition, the PNP, is scheduled to have a press conference. Many commentators looking on, many observers would say, well, the very opportunity that they did not take during the budget debate is what they're now going to be seeking to take at a press conference. Give us your sense as to how prudent or imprudent it is to have not done the work on the front end, so much so that you now have to come and be seeking to do damage control on the back end via a press conference on, the day after, as it were, the budget debate closing in the House.
They come with some budget, with a budget or something, you can say, well, okay, you're blundered and all that, you're making my back something. But they better come with something, a credible budget. And if they don't, well, I don't know. As I said,
based on Favor's costing,
it's hard to understand what went down. So yeah. I don't know what if they don't come with another thing, what their plan is, what they're thinking is.
Well,
and let me tell you something.
Yeah.
You want better from an opposition. As I said, I am a Democrat. I don't believe in JLP or PNP. I do say some governments are better at a certain time than another government.
Yes. Right? But you believe in the two-party system at least.
Yes, I believe in the two-party system. And this is, as I said, to me, it is not acceptable for a credible opposition. I don't know what they're going to say today. So
I said it in my opening commentary this morning that it is invariably, it smacks of disrespect, as it were, for the electorate to not have appropriately costed your proposals to show people that yes, this is bankable, this is sustainable, it is doable, it is feasible, and it will not bust the budget, it will not ruin the country, it will just take the country in a better direction relative to what the incumbent government is doing and the direction in which it is taking the country.
Well, as I say, if you want to win, Shelley and Fiscal said it, who wants it the most? The PNP seem to really want it, the more power, that they really wanted it. But they didn't, the actions aren't showing it. They didn't do the work needed to convince people that they're credible government in meeting. In my view, I could be wrong. Who knows? Maybe the public was stating differently. But from my point of view, I didn't see the necessary work that you expect or require from our government in waiting to show me, yes, you can run the country well.
Well, you see, on that point, Kevin, on that point, you see, we know that narrative is easy. We know that words on a paper are easy. What I quite liked is that the finance minister yesterday, she used certain assumptions and certain ways of estimating what the cost would be, projecting what the cost would be, and to the extent that she came away with a costing that presents a $200 billion hole in the PNP's budget. I don't know what their own number crunching and their own costing will be, because if you think, for example, of first in the family to be supported in relation to university tuition, it will be costing certain billions of dollars, and Favor gave that costing yesterday. I don't know the variance, if there's going to be any seismic variance between the PNP's costing and how credible that will be relative to the costing last afternoon by the finance minister. So that will be interesting to see in the days and perhaps weeks ahead.
As I say, let us as a Jamaican, I let them want to come up with something at least credible today.
Yeah.
At least I can say, okay, they're showing some credibility. I'd like that from my opposition and potential government in waiting.
All right, and then this other matter, because when he rose on a point of order last afternoon, the opposition leader, in addition to charging or asserting that the finance minister was misleading the House, he went on, Kevin O'Brien-Chang, to make the point that they never said, the PNP that is, himself included, they never said that the things that they were proposing would be implemented in this fiscal year.
Well, as I said, it's fundamental to the engaging in a budget debate is showing me how your budget is going to work out. It's 3 years then, come out with a 3 years plan. They didn't show any plan. They didn't tell us how many years or whatever. But it has to balance out. So if it's a 3 year plan, show the 3 year plan that balances.
And that was precisely the point the finance minister made in the budget debate, that, for example, when she opened the budget debate, the matter of an increase in the personal income tax threshold, it would have been challenging, quite challenging, I would say, Kevin, to have effected a move from the current 1.7 to 2 million in the personal income tax threshold in one fell swoop. And that is why a phased approach was taken. So there is precedence for signaling that, listen, over a 2-year period or over a 3-year period or over a 4-year period even, this is how we will essentially phase in, as Auditor did some years ago, this move that we're coming with. There's precedence for it.
Well, because I plan a 3 year plan, let us see the 3 year plan at the conference then. Let us say them at their word. Let us see what they present, a credible 3 year plan, and we can say, okay, at least you've presented that. That is what I think most Americans would be expecting at the minimum today. So let us see what happens.
Yeah. And then in terms of what observers would have come away from the 2025-2026 budget debate, at least in the lower house, this one by every indication, Kevin, would have been the budget debate going into the elections. They are constitutional due in September. There is no other opportunity such as this, no other stage such as this to essentially, set out your store and back the store you're setting out. So who would you consider as the winners, as it were? Who would you consider as having registered with the electorate in terms of a compelling way in these this past budget debate in the lower house?
Well, this one is a perhaps easiest budget ever to score. One side came with numbers and one didn't. That is it in one sentence.
Yeah, and therefore one side gets the grade and one side doesn't, as it were.
Well, if I'm a teacher marking, you come with the numbers, you pass. You don't come with the numbers, you fail.
That's what I mean. And well, any other final thoughts as to what we should be seeing?
It's a good speech by the finance minister, a good speech by the prime minister.
Yeah.
And as I said, the finance minister yesterday, she came. People were not sure to expect from Favor Williams, Minister, she's not up to the job. Well, she's like a batsman, came and played a very good innings, her first one, and this one she came back and played another good knock. I think her credibility has been established. And I think people are saying Nigel Clark, we're going to miss him, can't do without him. But you know the whole thing, the cemetery is filled with indispensable men or women. And Nigel, was good for Nigel. Nigel is very good. And people have shown that Nigel's shoes were big. She's filling them quite well.
Well, as I indicated to Minister Williams in conversation with her last night, she has essentially put into the public conversation an expression, a turn of phrase that is not just instructive, but should essentially define and characterize the election campaign that is to come. So much so that the Prime Minister himself, Kevin, used that precise phrase, and I'll allow you to say it because you just did a while ago.
Don't party with your rent money.
There you go. And it was such an instructive phrase, and Favor indicated to me last night how she came up with that turn of phrase.
Favor, it's funny. She never showed it in the education minister. But she has come on touch as finance minister.
Yeah.
That's why I come back to being in her natural environment. But she has come on touch the coldness. People saying the education minister doesn't come across in the finance. It's her new job.
It's a different kettle of fish. Yeah.
And as you know, Jamaican women
are fairly good with the purse strings.
In all ways, they run the country. And she has shown that never underestimate a Jamaican woman.
Yeah, and so a word to the people of Jamaica is, in as much as you run your domestic affairs, it is not prudent to take your child's school fee or extra lesson money, or to take the grocery money to buy things put in the cupboard, yes, or your landlord's rent money and go and party with it, do frivolous and profligate things with it, basically.
Well, I tell you, what Jamaicans have always wanted, I will stand by this.
Yeah.
They've always wanted a responsible government that cares. And
That's
that
right.
is what you have to present it. Jamaicans are not fools. We have 64 years now, 63 years, unbroken democracy. One of the proudest records in the world. And if the people were as foolish as some people claim, the nonsense as an electorate, it could not be. So we're not a foolish electorate at all. And I think the charge they always want is we want a government that cares and a government responsible. A responsible government that cares is always the wish of the people.
All right, important note on which to leave it there. Thank you so much, Kevin, for your perspectives this morning as you weighed in on the 2025-2026 closing budget debate presentation in particular.
Thank you much, sir. Take care. All the best.
Good. All right, we're going to run to the break, listeners, but just to remind you of the numbers as we come back on the other side to take your calls as we go make our way up to 11 o'clock. 212-9824 or 462-0919. Stay with us. And it's FM. I'm Marlon Morgan. We are running to the phone lines, but just to remind you of the numbers to call, 876-212-9824 or 876-462-0919. Good morning, caller. Welcome to the program. All right, I gather we lost that call. Remember, 212-9824 or 462-0919. And you will have heard Kevin O'Brien Chang just now, listeners, indicating that it is absolutely inexplicable that a political party seeking to form government, yes, a parliamentary opposition asking and seeking the votes of the people would not have done its homework in the way that would have been desirable and, of course, respectful, as opposed to being contemptuous of the electorate. And I know why the PNP did not do that. The PNP, in my view, prioritized presenting wonderful sounding promises that people would say yay and jump up about. But they know that while you can present the things that people would want to hear, it is a different kettle of fish to present the costing for those things. Anyway, we're running back to the phone lines. Good morning, caller. Welcome to Straight Up.
Good morning, Marlon.
Yes, sir. Good morning.
Yes, I'm online, right?
Yes, you're on air, sir. Go ahead.
Yeah, Marlon, you're not saying no.
saying this and saying that, Marlon. This is the next election. Next election will be Mark Golden, Marlon, whether I like it or not,
So tell us what is the saying this and saying that? Define the saying this and saying that for me. What saying this and saying that you're referring to? The Prime Minister, he make himself become unpopular.
Oh. Right? He make himself become unpopular.
And the British man well popular.
The man is stop describe the man as a British man. The man
so
is
what then? He's German?
Man, if you stop doing that, man, the man is a Jamaican brother. For me, I youth, Mark Golden. You see it? We used to hold Mark Golden, we used to run up and down and play football over university campus. You see it? We know Mark Golden from our youth.
Send us the pictures,
So what may I say?
Yeah.
Send your picture.
I'm saying send us the pictures. I'm commending that
picture?
to you.
What picture? What picture, sir?
To verify what you're alleging.
When the Prime Minister go and challenge the Integrity Commission, Marlon, a big mistake that he make, man.
Oh.
You can't challenge the Integrity Commission, Marlon. In make it look like him have something to hide, brother.
So tell me this. Tell me this,
Hold on the street. Hold on, Marlon. Hold on. You see when you out on the street, and then the workplace, the lunch rooms, and all of them, them things they are discussion, you know.
So tell me this now. Tell me this. When the opposition leader tells the country that it should not have 1 foot in Jamaica and 1 foot in the King's Yard, while at the same time he himself held one passport, a Jamaican passport in the left back pocket and a British passport in the right back pocket. Yes?
Well, that is a different scenario in Marlon.
Yeah.
That's a different scenario in terms of, say, governing the country. The Prime Minister, they are changing the law or the constitution or whatever. Where the king having what you call it is the
so Jamaica mustn't have 1 foot in and 1 foot out, but him, Mark Golding, must have 1 foot in and 1 foot out.
No, I'm not saying that, I'm not saying if he found to be to have more than one citizenship, right?
Yeah.
It's for him to give up one and decide.
I see.
You know what I mean? It's for him to give up one.
I remember how reluctant he was to give up the British one, right? He agonized with that decision.
Where the other thing, where the Prime Minister, he increased minimum wage by $1,000. He must give minimum wage for $1,000. That's coming like a big insult, Marlon.
All right,
$1,000.
Yeah.
Minimum wage. They cut out. You used to have two different minimum wage. You used to have one for security guard and one for regular minimum wage earner.
Yeah.
Now they make it one minimum wage across the board, right? Then you want to tell me it's not fair for security guard and regular minimum wage earners to be on the same minimum wage level, Marlon. Security guard, they have far more responsibility than regular minimum wage earners. And people who work in the supermarket and the wholesale and the security guard have far more responsibility.
You know what the minimum wage was when the JLP took office in 2016?
Yeah, I know you have to tell me that. I know you have to come with that.
Oh, but you know that's not convenient to you, right? Hold on.
Yeah,
that's not convenient to you, right? You are the person who introduced minimum wage in this conversation, did you not?
Yes.
And you did so to make the point, sir, that what, $1,000 is minuscule in the grand scheme of things, right?
$1,000.
And I'm putting this to you, sir. I'm putting it to you that over the past 9 years, over the 9-year period that the incumbent administration has been the government, we have had a 158% increase in the minimum wage. What the other side, in a dollar figure, sir, it has moved from 6,200 to the proposed 16,000. You do the math and tell me.
Over a 9-year period.
Over that is correct, sir.
So that is additional about $10,000 more.
Well, let me share another period with you.
9 years.
Yeah.
$10,000 over 9 years.
Yeah, which is why I'm going to share this with you now. Which is why I'm going to share this with you.
Yeah.
The minimum wage was adjusted in February of 2011 to 4,500. The next time it was adjusted was
2011.
Just let me provide information. I'm going to be doing some speaking now, and I'm asking you kindly to do some listening now. February 2011, the minimum wage was 4,500. In September 2012, it was moved to 5,000. So that is a $500 move, sir. All right? Watch me now. In January 2014, it was moved to 5,600, up from 5,000. So that was a $600 move, sir. And then in March of 2016, it was moved by another $600 to 6,200. So when the JLP took office in March 2016, the minimum wage was $6,200. So for the two prior occasions on which the PNP increased the minimum wage, rather the three prior occasions, on one occasion they increased it in 2012 by $500, on another occasion they increased it in 2014 by $600, and then on their final occasion on the 1st of March 2016, just before the newly elected government came to office, they increased the minimum wage by another $600 to $6,200. You sure you want to have a minimum wage discussion?
Minimum wage, you need to have a more livable minimum wage, Marlon.
Everybody's agreed on that, sir. But I'm going to make an important point to you. I'm going to make an important point to you.
Yeah.
My aunt is a retired educator.
Yeah.
You see, when she was active in the classroom, teaching, my grandparents, yes, both my grandfather and my grandmother were alive at a particular point and residing with her. They were elderly persons, they were vulnerable, and they needed support in terms of the support of a caregiver. So watch me now. Do you appreciate, sir, that you have persons who are not rich but are employers themselves? So for example, when a teacher or a policeman or a civil servant or an accountant at a bank has to hire a caregiver to care for their elderly parent who reside with them, live at them yard, or when a couple have to pay for a babysitter, hire a babysitter to attend to their young child at home, that they are employees for their organization, but they are also employers at the same time because they have to pay the babysitter or the caregiver for the elderly parent. Do you appreciate and understand that?
I appreciate and understand that, man.
Yeah.
A lot of those people who do those kind of work, you have the amount of long hours they have to work.
Well, the minimum wage, sir, is for a 40-hour work week. So anytime people work hours beyond that, they're entitled to overtime payment.
But no employer not doing it. They're not.
Well, they should. They should, sir.
They're not paying no overtime.
They should, and that is why we're using responsible programs and platforms such as these to implore the citizens of Jamaica to comply with the labor laws and do what is decent and right.
This is the biggest. That is the next problem, Mr. Marlon. These employers, enough of these employers, they're not adhering to the labor law, right? They're not adhering to the labor law. They break the labor law and get away with it.
So they flout the laws.
And float the law and get away with it.
Because in short, I said all of that, you see, sir, my good friend. I said all of that to make the point, yes, that the minimum wage issue, it's a delicate balancing act anyway you take it, because guess what, the income that is received by one person is an expenditure that has to be paid out by another person. You want people to be earning reasonable money, and at the same time the people who have to be paying them the salary and that reasonable money, you don't want to break those people's back, because ultimately a business place, for example, provides goods and services to people like you and I. So when a man run a restaurant, the salary, that the wage that he pays the cashier who collect our money when we go to the restaurant for buy lunch, yes, is a part of his expenses in a business, and therefore it helps to determine how he prices the lunch that he sells me and you. Because when you there work, I'm hearing forklift in your background, sir, yes, or some other heavy equipment. When you there work, you don't necessarily get to think that bring lunch every day or whatever. You may have to go to a cook shop and buy lunch, no, so?
Yes.
All right. So the man, you don't want wage to be at a level which businesses cannot afford and have to close their operations. Where would that get us? It means that operations will be closed down, people will be placed on the scrap heap of unemployment, yes, and they won't have any income. So it is a delicate balancing act, sir, when it comes on to minimum wage. So don't be misled by people who don't want anything good for this country, because I have just provided you with the figures to demonstrate that based on the movement in the minimum wage, since these people who are at the wicket now took office in March 2016, it has been a reasonable move, all things considered.
I think it could be more reasonable, sir. And where security guard are concerned, right?
Yeah.
Security guard used to be a little above the regular minimum wage earners. Now they make it that security guard and all minimum wage, everybody on one level. I'm saying that.
So a security guard, sir. First of all, I don't even know why there was that variance between industrial security guards and, of course, other minimum wage earners. Because to my mind, yes?
Yeah.
The nature of the job of some security guards put them in harm's way and whatnot. No, so? We can understand that.
And with more responsibility, Mr. Morgan. And
so, sir, you see the security guard sector.
At night time, security guard have out there
but sir,
property.
Sir, I am putting it to you that there are some instances where the job of a security guard is not necessarily something you could appropriately describe as wholly per responsibility. Some people raise a barrier and lower a barrier. Some people admit patrons into an establishment and help open the door to permit the people out of the establishment.
Well, in every case you take it, but security guard job are more responsible and more dangerous than a regular minimum wage earner, Mr. Morgan. No matter how you want to look at it.
Oh.
Right? Security guard, they are more vulnerable. I
agree with the vulnerable part, because once you're a security guard and you're on the front line, it means that you are potentially in harm's way. So I fully understand that part. But in terms of how strenuous the job may be, there are instances in which it may be very strenuous, and there are other instances on the other end of the spectrum. That's the point I'm making, caller.
Yeah. And the other thing, sir.
Yeah.
There's not a minimum wage commission anymore.
Watch me now, sir. There's a minimum wage commission. You heard from one of the persons who are keen on that, Vincent Morrison, yesterday morning on this program with my colleague Conrad O'Brien, and Vincent Morrison telegraphed to listeners that he is displeased with the approach of the government because the government did not, as it were, place the matter of an adjustment in the minimum wage before the commission.
That's how it used to be, Mr. Morgan.
Yeah, man, and I would never knock process. I would never make the point that Vincent is not making a fair point. Mr. Morrison, to the extent that he's a member of the minimum wage advisory body and whatnot, and minimum wage increases are usually approached in a certain way, I would never knock that process.
Yeah, man, I still used to go. The minimum wage commission, I know you always.
But sir, you have different things that can be simultaneously true. It is true that Vincent Morrison was not engaged in the way they are intended to be, but it is also true that minimum wage earners in this country were impatient of lengthy work that would deprive them of the increase that they are set to get come June 1. Yes? So two things can simultaneously be true. We do have a mechanism vis-a-vis considering matters of minimum wage, and that is why the Prime Minister went in the direction of increasing the minimum wage in a reasonable and responsible way. It is not too hard on employers, for example, who have to pay the minimum wage. It is not too dislocating for employers who have to foot that payroll, that pay bill. But at the same time, it allows at a minimum the minimum wage worker to at least keep pace with inflation. A lady called me last week, Thursday or Friday it may have been, to tell me that $1,000 can't buy nothing. Well, if the $1,000 can't buy nothing, watch me now, sir, watch me now. If the $1,000 can't buy nothing, what could the $600 and the $500 before that, which was granted by the PNP, do? What could it do?
Things are very so expensive, Mr. Marlon.
Oh, it was $10 for a party, right?
Small lunch now have $1,000 in a bar, so you can buy a drink.
Sir,
Anyway,
lunch prices vary at establishments. Don't tell me that a small lunch is for $1,000 because you have establishments where a small lunch is being sold for $600, sir. Some establishments have a burger box lunch. Listen me, sir. Listen me now. Some establishments have a burger box lunch for $600. Them have the coffin box, which is the medium box lunch, for $800, and they have the double compartment box. Yes, depending on the protein, for $1,000 or $1,200, for example. Because when you consider a curry goat double box lunch, double compartment box lunch, that may be retailing at $1,200, and the coffin box may be $800. Fried chicken or baked chicken may be sold for $1,200, but $1,000 rather, in the double compartment box. So there are different types of lunches, sir.
I'm going to shift from that a little bit.
Anyway, we are shifting to another call, G.
Yeah, we can say one little thing, 1 minute.
Yeah, man, go ahead with 30 seconds. Go ahead, sir.
I hear you guys criticized PJ Patterson and his administration in the 1990s and whatever. Every government going to power, them mismanage and mismanage.
They mismanage.
Yes.
So mismanagement is the standard that we should go by. So we should have ambition to do better than mismanage. We must just be happy with mismanage.
I'm not saying that. We should give credit. To
but you know what I'm happy for, though, caller? You mentioned PJ Patterson just now, and you essentially mentioned the word that every administration mismanaged. So invariably, you're giving PJ a little free pass for his mismanagement.
No, I'm not giving you a free pass. I'm saying that every government going to power them mismanage things.
Okay, well, guess what now? We want the government them that not going to come mismanage. We have to run, call. I have to leave it there. I've heard you loud and clear. I want the government them. Yeah, man. I want the government them, sir, that will appropriately manage and responsibly manage. That is why the government is now able to do and provide a $1 billion solidarity program. 20,000 Jamaican dollars to 50,000 Jamaicans who are neither on path, they are not deriving a social pension, they are not getting any NIS benefit, and they certainly weren't eligible for the $20,000 reverse income tax credit of last year, 2024. Good morning, caller. Welcome to Straight Up.
Yes, Mr. Marlon. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, caller. This sounds like, what's your name again, sir?
My name again. So you are so much familiar with
from Israel, Midland, man. Let's go. What's your name?
Yes, sir. The name is Milton.
Very well, Milton. Go ahead, sir.
Yes, sir. First thing first. Listen to your remarks. I think you do a good job in teaching people how to be a political activist.
Oh.
Yes, sir. Straight out.
I see.
Because media house should try to analyze the thing. Divide up party affiliation.
So I didn't analyze.
No, everyone knows you are an activist. You confirm that in your remarks.
Yeah. So an analyst, sir, can be an analyst, but also dissect at the same time. That's all.
But I think that's what I said. You went overboard in terms of your activism, political activism.
Anyway, let us focus on your activism. What you call me about this morning?
Yes, sir. Politics now and PG and all of them. The Fins acting, right? The honorables talk about a 02 Fins Act.
Yeah, Fins Act 2.0 name, not 02. Fins Act 2.0.
He's trying to give the impression is if the people give the PMP the real power come after election, they're going to have more of the same.
Mm-hmm. So you don't share that. You don't share that observation.
Just allow me to, so if you don't mind.
Mm-hmm.
The question is, a report has been prepared, ready to be published, and read it from the present administration that it would and to no avail. But hear my argument. Hear the criticism. I may criticize my party. Don't problem. I may be preempting them. But if they know that our report is prepared to be published and this present administration won't, for whatever reason, then
Well, which report are you referring to here? Which report, Sir Milton?
you call it the FinSac. I'm talking about the financial meltdown report.
All right, so pause a minute, Sir Milton. Now watch me now. You can probably, come away with some enlightened perspective. There was a commission of inquiry vis-a-vis the collapse of the financial sector in Jamaica between the mid to late 1990s. People commonly refer to it as the FinSac Commission of Inquiry, as a short reference, right? That commission ended up commencing some draft chapters of a report, but did not do a substantive report. You're still with me?
You think the PNP would confirm same, sir?
Say again?
They were the administration at some point. You think they would confirm for same as they agreed with what you say?
Yes, sir, that's correct. So watch me now.
You think the PNP would, I'm asking if I think the PNP would agree with same?
Yes, sir, because I've just stated some facts. So watch me now, to the extent that
big man around so far.
I don't want me to talk at the same time.
But the PNP may refute your claim.
You asked me a question, I've answered you I've said yes to you 2 times prior. I'm going to ask you to pause and listen to what I'm saying. The FinSac commissioners did not produce a substantive report. They had draft chapters, sir, and they had a host of other literature, exhibits and documents and whatnot. All of those things were eventually turned over to the finance minister, Nigel Clark, as it was at the time. Nigel Clark, based on an undertaking he gave in the budget last year, eventually situated all of what I described a while ago on a database, on a website, so that people who are interested can see in an unvarnished way these things for themselves. Academicians can go and do reports and papers, academic pieces in relation to this for themselves. So it is very objective, sir. There has been some redacting of personal data, which may violate the Data Protection Act. But separate and apart from the redacting of that kind of data, the bundle, the exhibits, the literature vis-a-vis the FinSac report is situated, Milton, on a database.
We hear you. But remember, I think while this present party was in opposition, they told us that the report will be published once they became the government.
All right, excellent point. Excellent point,
yes,
Milton. So I'm going to ask you this now. Hold on, man. We hear you a while ago. Excellent point. Let me ask you this now. Yes? Who has charge over the publication of a report? The government or the commissioners?
Pardon me?
Whose responsibility is it to provide a report, the government or the FinSac commissioners?
The commissioner provide a report.
Thank you. So call me back at 11:30, Milton, I'm going to ask you kindly. Call me back when we return from the 11:30 break. We're going to go to a scheduled interview at 11:10, and I want to talk back to you when we come back from the 11:30 break. So please call me back and we'll pick up on this conversation. We go to a break. Stay with us. All right, we're seeking to make connection with 2 contributors in this segment this morning. That is His Worship, the Mayor of Montego Bay, Richard Vernon, and noted figure out in Western Jamaica, Janet Silvera. And we're putting the spotlight, essentially, listeners, on the Jill Stewart run. I gather there's a 5K that is in the offing, as well as a 10K. We'll hear from them what is behind this particular initiative, what they're seeking to raise funds to do. And there's also Wellness Week that I gather the mayor will be sharing more with us about. Do we have lady and gentleman now online? Good morning.
Good morning. Morning.
Right. Thanks for joining us, Janet Silvera. And I'm hearing His Worship the Mayor, Richard Vernon, on the call.
Right.
Very well. All right, thanks so much. We're going to start with a thorn, Janet, by having Mayor Vernon share with us what's proposed and what's happening in terms of Wellness Week, how this thing came about and what is envisaged, Mayor Vernon.
Okay, so I will tell you a part of the why, and Janet will tell you the how and the when.
Very well.
Okay. Right. So, nationally we are about productivity, and productivity has several underlying. We have education, health, and skills training. We have technology, you name them. But we decided to highlight
and to align to two particular components of our national productivity goals that we are localizing and aligning ourselves locally with the events to ensure that we achieve them. And those two are education and health and wellness. For education, the Stewart Mobile City Run has been doing a lot over the years, and Janet will tell you more about that, contributing to education, scholarships, you name it. But we decided this year to focus on health and wellness as well. And that is the other baseline of the event, to ensure that while we run, we have a week of activities leading up to the culmination of the run that will inform you about your status, your numbers and all of that, get you to be a part of different routines, and educate you about health and wellness in general. So basically that is why we are doing it, to ensure that we have a healthier Montego Bay and a more educated population here.
All right. Janet, you can share what we just heard a lot of the why from Mayor Vernon. When and how. So take it away, Janet Silvero.
Thank you so much. So the week of activities, or Wellness Week, commences on the 27th of April. So we're starting the Sunday before May 4, which is when we will culminate the week of activities with the run itself.
Yeah.
However, we start with a major event that Sunday morning at the Harmony Beach Park with about 5 different fitness instructors from various gyms in Montego Bay, and they will be bringing their people, and we will also have other persons who are into health and wellness.
Yeah.
So we're gonna do a big exercise class in the park, in the Harmony Beach Park on the Sunday morning. On the Tuesday, which is the 29th, we have partnered with the Western Regional Health Authority.
Yes.
And we will be having a health and wellness fair. So we're inviting various organizations that are big on wellness to come out and have booths. And we are working with the various organizations, particularly the ones that take care of the elderly, to get those people out so that they can be checked. And not only them, of course, but we'll have a lot of young people, others, because we find that there are a number of people who have heart disease, high blood pressure, and diabetes.
Yeah, all
that
the
is
NCDs.
a major issue in Western Jamaica.
Yes,
So
yes.
our way of trying to get people to understand that these diseases are debilitating and also killers, we want them to understand that unless you start taking care of you, there will be no you. We've gone as far as to have a special drink at a wellness store in Montego Bay called Shine for 9. It has 9 different ingredients in it. And all those ingredients will help people who want to not eat, for instance, a certain type of food for the day, but would prefer to have a meal, a smoothie as a meal.
Yeah, meal
So
replacement.
JLP Cafe is making a special drink that they've called Shine for 9 because it's our 9th anniversary. On the Thursday of the same week, which is I think it's the 2nd of May, or no, not true, the 1st of May, we will be doing a Mobe Move, which is a spin-off
From Jamaica Moves.
of Jamaica Move.
Very well, yeah.
Right, so we're going to be exercising again in the park on Thursday. And on the Friday, we will continue to have our regular things such as our pasta party, which is mainly for the people who register for the run and our sponsors. And on Sunday morning at 6 a.m., we want the entire Jamaica to turn out in Montego Bay at Harmony Beach Park, where we will be having fun can-done.
And this is
We're gonna
Sunday,
run the
May 4.
10K, run the 5K. Pardon me?
This is Sunday, May 4.
Sunday, May 4.
That's right.
Yes, Sunday, May 4.
Just remind them of the venue
So
again.
the weekend starts up for us on the 27th of April with the 5 instructors from Montego Bay.
They're doing
opening
aerobics.
the week with a lot of excitement on that morning, that Sunday morning.
Yeah.
And on the 29th of April, we're having a health fair. And it's all free for persons who want to come and check their blood pressure, come and check their sugar levels, come and do all sorts of check your numbers, find out what's happening in your lives, in your bodies. We're inviting people out. And this is in collaboration with the Western Regional Health Authority.
All right, so you have a useful platform there, Mayor Vernon, to get messages of this nature out. Share with us as to whether the channels you've been using to inform or sensitize the citizens of Montego Bay and its surrounding environments of this, and indicate whether this is also open to persons from further afield, if it is that they elect to come and participate.
Of course, we invited entire Jamaica, and a matter of fact, the part of it that Janet did mention is that we would like to see the run expand into New York and Miami. But for now, we're focusing on Jamaica, and of course, the run will be done in Montego Bay. The platforms that we have been using, they're suitable, but we are trying to get more information out there and get more people on board so that they can be a part of this opportunity. And I don't think we underscore enough the importance of health and wellness in our productivity as a country. We talk about everything else that we want to do in terms of getting new technology and all of those things so that we can be productive. But if you're not healthy, then you can't be wealthy. And that is
no, you can't.
Sure that we impress upon the need to be healthy as a city, as a municipality, as a country. And we're using this opportunity to invite everybody out to participate in the Jill Stewart Obey City Run Wellness Week and the City Run itself. That will be the culmination of these.
So based on
Can I say something before I
go ahead, Janet.
Mayor?
Yeah.
Can I say something? When I was thinking of doing this and I called the mayor, listen, he helped me to craft the entire week, advising me exactly how to do it. We could not have asked for a better mayor in the city of Montego Bay. And yes, we couldn't, because he is so supportive. And, even though it's a Western Regional Health Authority, the St. James Municipal Corporation, which is the mayor, and the rest of this team,
solid partners.
They are as involved and as supportive of what we are doing. And for him to declare Wellness Week on behalf of our run, I mean, boy, Mayor, you're really gone.
You find it very admirable, and it is quite timely because, it's admirable and timely because of just where we are as a country, particularly given, we're grappling with NCDs, non-communicable diseases, and what it means, how debilitating it is for the seniors in particular among us.
Right.
All right, so for those persons who have no idea who Jill Stewart was, we know that it's the Jill Stewart Run. It's essentially in honor of the late Jill Stewart. So share with us, Janet, as to, this event, where it started in terms of the Jill Stewart Run.
Okay, so we started out as Mobile City Run 11 years ago. We have had, this is our 9th staging
of the event. The COVID lacuna.
Yes, we had our COVID period where we couldn't have the event. We have raised over $33.5 million, which is given towards education every year. We have 4 main institutions plus others that benefit. This past year, we gave about $8 million out of that $33.5 million. Now, Jill Stewart was Adam Stewart's deceased wife, was one of our biggest supporters. When she ran several times in our race, and she also won the 10K on more than one occasion. But not running alone was not it for Jill. Jill wanted the run to survive, and because she wanted it to survive, she would go out of her way to find us, sponsors to find us. She wanted sections added, such as a race for young children, if you know what I mean. So she was integrally involved in the life of the run and the sustainability of the run. So last year, we decided that we would rename the run And for the next 5 years, rather, for the 5 years, we will have the run in her honor, Jill Stewart Mobe City Run. We may go back to Mobe City Run eventually, or we may keep it. However, Jill Stewart will be remembered as one of the persons who helped to make this race happen.
That's right. All right, and then in terms of how persons may participate in this activity in terms of the run, how they go about signing up and who...
We have running events, which is one of the most popular race event directors in this country. They are running our run race this year for us. They did it the first year and they're back after 8 years. I'm loving it. And it's www.runningevents.com, or if they want to come to us directly at Mobe City Run, it's www.mobecityRun.com. Also, they can call us at 876-828-0413.
All right, and what's the cost to well, it's a run walk, by the way, right?
So we have different rates.
Yeah.
And for the 5K, it's $2,500.
Yes.
Individual, and for the 10K, it's $3,000. For groups of 10 or more, it's $2,300 per person. Last year we had over 5,000 participants. We are hoping to do better than that this year. We want to get to 10,000 participants.
Yeah, we have all the platforms now.
We're inviting the entire Jamaica to come out.
We have many platforms, TikTok and Instagram.
Yes, we have the Mobe City Run at Instagram, the Mobe City Run on TikTok, Mobe City Run on Facebook.
Yeah.
So we have those three pages that persons can go to.
And in terms of the proceeds, we will know education. Give us a sense as to...
Every time, always education.
So give us a sense as to which specific, schools or educational outreach activities will be facilitated.
We started with UE, and we have continued with UE Western Jamaica campus. Let me tell you something now, which is very, very important. Here the mayor talk about productivity.
Yeah.
The race was started as well to ensure that our young people would remain in Western Jamaica and provide the kind of expertise that we need in the companies here in Western Jamaica.
Yes.
We found that many of our students were going to Kingston to study and were not returning home. So the quality of the workers we were getting, because they were not coming back.
So
part of the reasons for also helping to send students to school here in Montego Bay was to help them to retain and not have that loss that we usually have when people leave. So JUTC is one of the
beneficiaries,
the recipient schools. UE Western Jamaica campus, as I said, Sam Sharp Teachers College, Montego Bay Community College, and we are now giving students even at CMU scholarship. So and we've had a young man from Edna Manley in the room, because Edna Manley now has a partnership with Sam Sharp Teachers College, and CMU does have a campus at Sam Sharp Teachers College. So we for the younger students, this year we're giving $500,000 to Mount Alvernia High School because it's their 100th anniversary. And we are also doing a special aspect of it where we'll have a sports girl and a sports boy of the year champions of sports award ceremony in June, where we will recognize 10 young people out of Western Jamaica between the parishes of Trelawney and St. Elizabeth that are involved in swimming, track and field, basketball, tennis, and one other discipline that I can't remember right now. But all of these young people who are probably never ever recognized until they leave school and they go into other things. So what we're doing, we're capturing that and recognizing them, 10 of them at an award ceremony that we're calling Champions of the West.
Yeah.
And that is in June. And that's a spin-off of the Juice Stewart Mobile Security.
All right, and so closing out with Mayor Richard Vernal. Thank you for that, Janet. Mayor Vernon, this seems therefore to have been, when you consider the strategic imperatives of a city, Jamaica's second city, Montego Bay, and thus the greater Montego Bay area, the St. James's Parish as a whole, and then that western belt. Underscore for us how important this partnership is based on the critical importance of education, people being healthy in order to be productive and drive development in our second city and beyond.
Very important. Montego Bay, particularly being a resort city, needs to skill up or upskill the population. We have BPOs here, and we want to get persons with their qualification in them, not persons with basic entry. And in some cases, they can't even find persons with school leaving certificate. Mm-hmm. So we need to give them a second chance to get their skills, and that is why the Heart Trust is important for these individuals. But if you look at what we have done collectively among the constituencies, the charitable groups, the service groups, the runs, we are spending well over $300 million annually just to invest in education, and we are encouraging our young people to take these opportunities. Persons are saying that they don't have the opportunity to go to university, to UWI, to UTEC to get tertiary education. There are opportunities there. They need to reach out and they need to onboard, tap into them. It's important for us, and we need to have our persons in the hotels and in the hospitality sector properly qualified. Even at the airport and the free port, there are persons there asking for employees to come, and they keep reducing the bar so to get persons in, and that is unacceptable. We need to be improving it. The young persons here in Montego Bay, I'm inviting them to take the opportunity, seize the opportunity. And there are several other sectors building out in Montego Bay, and they should ensure that they are properly qualified to tap into them, because that is how we are going to be competitive as a region, competitive as a country, and competitive even within the country. And then we have to keep our skilled workers here in Montego Bay, and to do that, we have to ensure that jobs are available and the persons are properly qualified. So that is very important for us. And I would like to say that if you look at the statistics nationally, about 25% of our population has attained tertiary education, and we need to improve that. We try to compare ourselves with Singapore and those countries all the time, but those countries are 80%, 85%.
Yeah.
So for us to make a case for ourselves, that is where we need to go. And I really appreciate the effort that all the service clubs, the service groups, the charitable organizations are making in helping us to achieve that goal. It is commendable, and I encourage them to continue as we work together. We partner with the government and these groups, these clubs, ensure that collectively Jamaica becomes a better place. And of course, I can't let out to a lovely city. Montego Bay becomes the best place in the Caribbean, and maintains that place in the Caribbean.
Indeed. All right, and a highly sought after destination, no doubt. Thank you so much. Janet, we just want to remind persons they can check out www.runningevents.com to participate, and there's also www.mobaycityrun.com, and the number to reach out to you folks, 876-828-0413.
Yes.
All right, so thank you so much, Janet Silvera and Mayor Richard Vernon.
Thank you.
Yes, man, you're most welcome. We're delighted to have provided the opportunity.
Bye-bye.
All the best. Good. So that, listeners, was Janet Silvera, one of the event organizers for this upcoming Jill Stewart run over there in Montego Bay, and Mayor Richard Vernal sharing with us as well on the broader Wellness Week initiative that they have on in the lead up to. They will commence on Sunday, April 27, and it will culminate in the run on Sunday, May 4. So do check that out. We're going to run to the break and come back with more of your calls, listeners, on 876-212-9824 or 876-462-0919. Do stay with us.
News Talk 93 FM. Heard everywhere. Contact News Talk 93 FM today.
Morgan, we are in the final half hour of this morning's program, listeners. We are making our way up to 12 noon, and throughout the rest of the program, we're taking your calls. So do call in 876-212-9824. There's also 876-462-0919. And I want to urge, persons to call in and present their perspectives, irrespective of the views you hold. On this program, we're about having 1,000 flowers bloom, and we are very much for all views contending. That's the nature of our democracy. That is the nature of the debate that we seek to foster in the public space, in as much as debate takes place in the parliament. And you would have heard just now, earlier, one of our callers to the program, Milton, was raising the issue of FinSac 2.0. It is on the front page of the Observer here. And essentially the Observer is indicating that Finance Minister Favor Williams has charged that the People's National Party, PNP, would be running a budget deficit of $204 billion that would result in quote-unquote, FinSac 2.0, and the collapse of the financial markets if the opposition party is elected to office and implements the proposals its president and spokesman on finance presented during the 2025-26 budget debate. And continuing on page 4 here, Williams, listeners, made the assertion as she closed the budget debate on Tuesday at Gordon House, where she used numerous charts and graphics to rip into what she called the implied budget of the PNP. She highlighted that the PNP has offered up nearly $49 billion in quote-unquote goodies, while the Jamaica Labour Party JLP government offered up $9.2 billion, a demonstration of the government's commitment to fiscal discipline. She took opposition leader Mark Golding and his spokesman on finance, Julian Robinson, to task, arguing that they lacked specifics in terms of how the proposals they offered would be financed. Promises, promises, promises. That's how the Observer is quoting Finance Minister Favor Williams here. There's another direct quote from the minister here. The spokesman on finance, she says, put forward promises but no costing. The leader of the opposition put forward more promises as well, but no costing. They also came with their recounting of history. Sadly, it did not include FinSac and the long-standing drag that the homegrown financial sector collapse had on the Jamaican economy even to this day. Not a word was said about FinSac in any of the two speeches. Not an apology, not an acknowledgement. It was as if FinSac never happened. They will be judged by the Jamaican people and the Jamaican businesses. Those are the words of Finance Minister Favor Williams during her contribution to the closing of the budget debate last afternoon in the Parliament. We have a call online, just reminding you listeners that we take your calls now through to the end of the program on 212-9824 or 462-0919. Morning, welcome to the program.
Morning, Marlon.
Yes, Mr. Africa.
Credit I get expensive,
Very well. Go ahead with your reason for calling this morning.
The tax couldn't take half it. Half of the credit.
No, sir. The tax help us to put medicine in the hospital, fix roads, and do a host of other things.
Marlon, you know some of our teacher know how I pull and can't get it, boy. The dentist them. Want to them get them money?
If the dentist them get them money?
Them the artist some money the other day, them get it?
I'll have to check on it, I'm not sure. But what I do know is that there were some medical groups that, based on the announcement in this budget, based on the finance minister's opening contribution in the budget debate, there are some outstanding issues in relation to groups of medical professionals that are now resolved or being resolved, as it were.
You know, but I like them fix the hospital issue, Conrad. Marlon.
Which one of the hospital issue?
Yeah, these issues me talk like dentists when you go there, you need to get through, you know, Marlon.
Well, so what I do know about dental work is that for persons who need, what do they call it? Dentures, essentially, there's a program in relation to that. And I know that there's dental work available at clinics. I don't know the degree to which there's a charge attached to it. Which clinic are you residing near to? Which clinic is nearest to you?
Grand Spain.
Or health center. Okay, Grand Spain. Have you ever sought to access that space to find out about the offerings of dental work in terms of teeth cleaning and those kinds of things?
Yeah, man, me try.
How would them say?
You will get through, you know, sometime, you know, but not all the while.
You will get through. What I know about dental work is that they have a set day or set days. For example, once a fortnight or once a week. Some may have it on a Thursday, for example.
You see me I say, Marlon? You see me I talk about them things that for their hospital, they'll deal with every day, Beijing.
Well, I am acknowledging that ideally, yes, you would want to have the entire suite of health services available on any given day, certainly Monday through to Friday.
We have the right to that, you know.
However, well, I don't know about the right to that.
Yeah, man,
however,
rights that, man.
But watch me now, General. Whatever happens in the country has to happen within the context of what the country has the capacity to do from a human resource standpoint and, of course, a financial standpoint. In other words, the grocery that you bring out your yard, Africa, whether you do so on a Friday daytime or a mountain time, whatever grocery you bring out your yard, it is simply on the basis of what Africa's pocket is able to support. Now, so? Because you would have wished to bring the entire bakery out your yard or the entire supermarket. Certainly your nieces and nephews or your children may wish that to be the case, because the fridge would have full of ice cream. Yes, the fridge would have full of, fruit juice, orange juice and fruit punch and whatnot, full of snacks in the cupboard and all these things. However, the household can't have the entire supermarket in it because there's just the sheer reality of the household's budget.
Marlon, you know, so well, if people out there can buy food to eat, you know, we have to have a supermarket. I don't go to supermarket because I can't have money for going there, you know.
But you buy food nevertheless because you buy it at a wholesale, so it's the same concept. It's the same concept.
On the road, I buy it when I can't get it cheap. I don't go in a people establishment for to buy food, I can't buy it.
Oh, so you mean you buy it on the people who on a stall have a little...
Yes, you're not paying a rent, you're not paying a light bill, so you get to sell it something a little cheaper.
I see. And that is and that's an excellent observation, Africa, because what you're saying and what you're demonstrating is a degree of practicality and sense, because you are aligning your pocket with where your hand can reach. So in other words, Africa, just like a finance minister, you are the steward of your personal finances. And if you only have $2,000, you know, so you can get a greater number of goods. Yes? Doing it, going to shop from the man on the stall or the person who have some goods on the tarpaulin, whether downtown or up in Grand Spain or wherever's in, you know that gives you better bang for the buck. And therefore, you don't go into the people in supermarket, since you have determined in your head that is a bit above your pay grade in terms of the value for money that you will get.
That may not mind something.
There you go. So here is Africa. Africa is being a responsible finance minister at the level of his household. And you have an opposition spokesman on finance who will be doing the very opposite of what you are proposing and indicating to us that you do, Africa, in your personal life.
You're not thinking that do the opposite, man.
You're not thinking about the opposite. So when the man says, watch me now, when a goodly gentleman, Julian Robinson that is, says, yes, that every child in Jamaica at a public educational institution in addition to those who are on path at present, so it means every child now, all of them will be getting a meal solution at school. Some of them parents can afford it, as they're doing now.
Get it. I want
Say again?
to go to school.
Say again?
Enough youth pass up on road and go to school.
Yeah, watch you now. So what's the word they used a while ago? Say, them forget it.
Yes,
Good.
Marlon.
Good. So let us have the reasoning now, because I said there's a reason why I made mention of that, my friend.
That's why we have government.
Africa. There's a reason why I made mention of the example I made. And I want to come back to, I want to dial back to the Africa example. Africa has a finite amount of money to spend on grocery. Now so it go? Because if it were otherwise, if you never have finite money, Africa, you'd have gone to Hawaii, you'd have gone to the Maldives, you'd have traveled every week, you'd have watched every Diamond League race in the country where the Diamond League is being held. You would go to all the World Cup matches when a World Cup time. You would go to the NBA finals. You would travel the world. You would do all the things that money can do in the world. But Africa's pocket does not enable him to do that. Now so, Jamaica's pocket, Africa, similarly, does not enable Jamaica without running into trouble to do what Julian Robinson and Mark Golding are proposing. It is the similar point being made, the similar concept being made, Africa. We would want to do a myriad of things. You don't think I would want government to be able to provide a meal solution to all the children at our public education institutions, for example?
Yeah, man. We could do that, my brother.
We would want to. But guess what? The finances would not be able to sustain that at this time.
Marlon.
Yes, sir.
Enough money government give all the while, Marlon, a $3 trillion can't get accounted for, Marlon.
$3 trillion. There's no such thing, Africa. Let me make this point, Africa.
That come out in a report,
Remember, say I raise the thing, Trino. There are persons who occupy places like the one I am occupying at present, Africa, who would mislead people, especially those who are uninformed and those who they know to be vulnerable. Yes? So let me be clear. The Auditor General presented an annual report where the Auditor General indicated that there are appropriations accounts for some ministries and public bodies that have not yet been verified by her, the Auditor General. And watch me now. Some of them date back as far as several years, my general. I'm answering you, Africa. In one case, for example, the outstanding years date back to 2013. So the people who would try to make mischief, watch me now.
The Auditor General then did a sit down pan work?
No, man. You don't understand what is being said, but let me help you to understand. This is not a function of the Auditor General essentially sitting on work before her. This is a function of the appropriations accounts at various ministries and public bodies not having been prepared and presented to the Auditor General, having been audited by their respective internal auditors and presented to the Auditor General for her own audit and her verification and certification ultimately.
Them finish comply with that yet?
I don't think so. I don't think so. I hope they are considerably advanced. I don't know how far advanced the various outstanding appropriations accounts are.
So, yes, when we got the hospital and we can't get through, and the youth got the school and can't get no food, I don't think I come from my mind,
So watch me now, Africa. Watch me now. You see the $3 trillion that you referenced a while ago? There is no missing $3 trillion. There is no unaccounted for $3 trillion because that would be rubbish. You see the point? In other words, you cannot have $3 trillion in Jamaica missing when Jamaica's budget each year for the past few years have been in the order of just over $1 trillion. So just to be clear.
Over a period of how much time the $3 trillion come about?
There's no $3 trillion that is missing. As I just indicated to you that in the case of one ministry, the outstanding appropriations accounts date back to 2013. So it is
Yes.
over, let us say, 11, 12 years.
You can't go for that from 2013, man.
But Africa, I am talking and I don't get the impression that you're even attempting to understand anything of what I'm saying.
Oh, you mean me not understand what you're saying,
Well, let me try again. Africa.
You see, it takes you now to explain.
No, but and I have no problem with that. I consider it my national duty to explain, because I want more of my Jamaican brothers and sisters, including Africa, to be enlightened. When people are enlightened, they make appropriate choices, and the appropriate choice in our case, as far as I'm concerned, is for people to choose Jamaica. Yes, and what is best for Jamaica. So watch me now, Africa. Appropriations accounts, which is a ministry's outline of what it receives and what it spends, are to be audited. There are some outstanding audits at present because the appropriations accounts have not been prepared. The fact that appropriations accounts have not been audited, it has not been prepared in many instances because of issues that ministries have with the financial management system that they use, the accounting system and software that they use. Because they have to go to great lengths to reconcile funds and whatnot and account properly for the funds.
After we know how corrupt the thing I get, we know the thing I get corrupt, you know. So if we fix even one something, it will make a lot of difference, you know, Marlon.
But everybody is agreed on that, sir. In other words, watch me now. And that is why the requirement is as it is. We want, in order to demonstrate to the people of Jamaica, including a caller like Africa, Michelle, Denise, Annette, yes, in order to demonstrate to those people that their tax dollars have been utilized in the ways intended, we undertake this audit by the Auditor General, and the Auditor General certifies it. However, the point I'm simply making, Africa, is that the fact that the accounts have not yet been verified and certified by the Auditor General does not mean that money has been misappropriated essentially, or has been stolen, or indeed is missing. Unaccounted, unverified or uncertified appropriation accounts does not mean unaccounted for or missing funds. I do accept that there are some irresponsible commentators, for their partisan political reasons, will try to suggest and paint the picture otherwise. But it is not so, sir.
Again, you know.
And when they do that, Africa, just let me close out on this point. Just let me close out. Africa, let me close out on this point. The people who seek to mislead people like you and others are doing you and others a disservice. Similar to how people will present a budget and not show to Africa how I'm going to come by the money to do what I say I'm doing, or what I'm saying I'll do will cost.
The 48 billion, what the lady talk about?
Yeah.
The finance minister.
Yes, sir.
That 48 billion making a 4-year period.
She's a 49 billion. If it making a 5-year period or a 4-year period?
Yes, Marlon.
No, man. The 49 billion is simply, essentially, a tally of what the man them said them are going to do. In other words,
yes,
Africa.
Me I said the tax of the government collect for a 5-year period. It come to that?
No, man. It is well in excess of that, man. It is well in excess of that.
What the problem with that then?
That means, so Africa, that's why I want you to relax and listen and try to come away with some understanding of what I'm explaining. Because you're now asking me what the problem with that. Watch me now, my general. Based on what our tax revenues are projected to be, the government collects just about $900 and something billion in what is called tax revenues. It has
for 1 year?
That is correct, sir, for each year, for each financial year. So watch me now, 900 billion. So watch me now, walk with me carefully. There are also other streams of revenue. For example, grants, free money where you get from places like, World Bank or whatever, or bilateral partners. Watch me again now. Government also earns money from the sale of assets and those kinds of things. Because, just to be clear, Africa, from time to time, our government may determine that a private sector player, or indeed the public, as it has done in the case of Trans-Jamaica Highway, is better placed to do this operation than the government. In other words, there are some aspects of the economy that government has no business running.
See a Jamaican get that privilege, you know, Marlon.
Huh?
Me hardly see a Jamaican get that privilege, you know.
Which is why, watch me now, Africa. There are two entities that were owned by government. Wigton Wind Farm and Trans-Jamaica Highway. What this current government has done was to remove itself from the ownership of these two entities in a way that allowed people like Africa and other ordinary Jamaicans to become a part of the ownership base of those two entities. It was called the sale of shares through what is called Africa an IPO, an initial
Marlon,
public offering.
One more question. If we get so much money, nearly $1 trillion, over $1 trillion a year, what cost the hospital fee in the problem where we in brethren? Tough time.
Because excellent point.
Tough
Because
time.
the hospital, Sir Africa, the hospital is but one aspect of the operations here in Jamaica. Do we have schools? I'm going to ask you a series of questions. The answer may yes or no. Do we have schools? Do we have men and women in prison who we have to feed? Do we have police cars and police stations to maintain? Do we have roads to fix? Do we have water systems to deal with? Do we have JUTC buses to fuel? Africa, do we have JUTC buses to fuel? Because you just asked me what we do with the $900 billion.
Yeah, what the girl tell about the JUTC bus this morning?
Yeah, man, I heard her. But anyway, I have to run. Call me back tomorrow because all of the things I've listed, Africa, are the things that the $900 billion help to do, including water system and JTC buses. All right, we have to run, Africa. I want to thank our producer. Yeah, man, it's good to be here, my brother. But it is also good to be enlightened and to just invest some effort in learning. I want to thank our producer, Tanya Richards. To advertise with us, please call our sales agents at 831-1846 or 349-4544. We'll do it all over again tomorrow. Do join us at 9:05 tomorrow when we have another edition of Straight Up. I'm Marlon Morgan, signing off for this here Wednesday.
News Talk 93 FM. Heard everywhere. The time on News Talk 93 FM is 12 o'clock. Contact News Talk 93 FM today via phone at 876-927-1660, extension 2475, or 876-427-9955. Email us at newstalk93fmsales@gmail.com. Visit our website at www.newstalk93fm.net.
This is the Global News Podcast from the BBC World Service. I'm Jackie Leonard, and in the early hours of Wednesday, the 26th of March, these are our main stories. Donald Trump says there'll be an investigation into how a journalist was invited onto a messaging group where he saw plans for US airstrikes in Yemen, but the president has defended his team. Hundreds of people in northern Gaza have staged a protest against Hamas, the biggest since the war there began. And the White House says Russia and Ukraine have agreed to stop targeting shipping in the Black Sea, but Moscow has insisted on further conditions before it implements any deal. Also in this podcast, and I may have asked this question before, is there life on Mars?
The rover found there were some compounds in this particular rock, and this is really exciting because these compounds haven't been found on Mars before.
President Trump says there'll be an investigation into how a journalist came to be invited onto a messaging group where top officials were discussing a U.S. military attack on Houthis in Yemen. He also said his administration would be taking a look at the messaging system Signal itself. But Mr. Trump defended the officials involved, including the National Security Advisor Mike Waltz, who seems to have invited the journalist Jeffrey Goldberg from The Atlantic magazine into the group conversation.
We have an amazing group. Our national security now is stronger than it's ever been. There was no classified information, as I understand it. They used a app, if you want to call it an app, that a lot of people use, a lot of people in government use, a lot of people in the media use.
Earlier, the CIA director and the head of U.S. National Intelligence told a Senate committee that no war details or identities of undercover officers were disclosed. At times, the exchanges in the committee hearing were very heated. This is the Democrat Senator John Ossoff questioning John Ratcliffe, the CIA director.
Director Ratcliffe, this was a huge mistake, correct?
No.
A national
hold on.
No,
Let me answer.
No, Director Ratcliffe, I asked you a yes or no question, and now you hold on. A national political reporter
you can characterize it how you want.
Was made privy
the White
to
House
sensitive information about imminent military operations against a foreign terrorist organization.
Mistake of adding a reporter,
and that wasn't a huge mistake. That wasn't a huge mistake.
Well, I think they characterized it as an embarrassment.
This is utterly unprofessional. There's been no apology. There has been no recognition of the gravity of this error. And by the way, we will get transcript of this chain, and your testimony will be measured carefully against its content.
Senator Mark Warner questioned Tulsi Gabbard, the director of U.S. National Intelligence, if she had taken part in the Signal chat group.
Did you participate in the group chat with Secretary of Defense and other Trump senior officials discussing the Yemen war plans?
Senator, I don't want to get into the specifics.
Ma'am, were you on? You're not going to be willing to address. So you're not. Are you denying? Will you answer my question, ma'am? You were not TG on this group chat.
I'm not going to get into the specifics.
So you refuse to acknowledge whether you were on this group chat.
Senator, I'm not going to get into the specifics.
Why are you going to get into the specifics? Is it because it's all classified?
Because this is currently under review by the National Security
Because Council. It's all classified? If it's not classified, share the text now.
Our North America correspondent Nomia Iqbal, who was in the U.S. Capitol building, gave this assessment of the White House reaction to the messaging app incident.
The White House is very keen to play it down. You've got President Trump saying that this was a glitch, and as far as he's concerned, that's the end of it. He is standing by his team. You've also got his White House communications director, who is, pretty sort of tough when it comes to sort of saying how he feels. Stephen Chung accusing critics of going after President Trump, trying to bring down his presidency. But interestingly, there does seem to be some sort of split here, because you've got the Senate Majority Leader, John Thune, who has announced, he said that the messages are inappropriate, by the way, and he's also said that the Armed Services Committee may want to have some folks testify and have some questions answered as well. So it doesn't seem to be the end of it.
That was Nomia Iqbal in Washington. So why is it a problem if the US administration's plans for Yemen strikes were shared on Signal, and how is the messaging app normally used? Joe Inwood spoke to the BBC's technology reporter Graham Fraser and first asked him to explain more about Signal.
Signal is a messaging app like WhatsApp that I'm sure many of our listeners will use, but it isn't as popular as WhatsApp. But one of the things it has is it has many more security measures. The conversations on the app are defaulted, so they're end-to-end encryption, which means that only the people reading the messages can see them. Even Signal can't even read what is being sent. Also, users can send messages that will disappear after a set time. The Signal, at the absolute heart of its company, is privacy. They gather very little data about the users, and it's owned by a US non-profit organisation, so the whole basis of the company is privacy.
But despite that, it isn't something, I understand, that top-level conversations by American officials should be taking place on. Is that right?
Well, yes. One of the big debates today has been whether the officials in question should have been using Signal at all, or should they be using another government service. As our colleagues in America have been reporting today, Signal has become the unofficial whisper network of Washington officialdom. The app is not banned outright by the US government, but under President Biden, some officials were allowed to download Signal on their White House issued phones, but they were instructed to use it sparingly and to never share any classified information on it.
Which we understand, of course, they have been today, although that has been denied, I think, by the authorities, by the administration. One crucial question here is about if it's possible to hack Signal. What do we know about that?
It appears to me that the question of what's happened is about human error rather than some major hack that someone has managed to somehow get into this group chat with all these high-ranking American officials. And, that was something that I spoke earlier today with Matt Navarra, who is a social media expert, and he was telling me that, in his view, this was all about human error. He said that this security breach is the equivalent of walking into a classified meeting room because someone forgot to close the door. And he went on to say this incident really does expose the weak link in even the most secure platforms, and that is user behaviour. No app can protect against mistakes like adding the wrong person to a group chat.
The BBC's technology reporter Graham Fraser. The US Vice President J.D. Vance says he plans to go to Greenland on Friday in what's likely to be a highly controversial visit, given President Trump's desire for the US to take control of the island. A trip to the territory by Mr. Vance's wife Usha had already been announced, but he has now said he'll go with her. The governments of both Denmark and Greenland have made it clear that the island's sovereignty is not up for discussion with the US. Mr. Vance made the announcement of his planned visit on the social media site X.
I'm going to visit some of our guardians in the Space Force on the northwest coast of Greenland and also just check out what's going on with the security there of Greenland. As you know, it's really important. A lot of other countries have threatened Greenland, have threatened to use its territories and its waterways to threaten the United States, to threaten Canada, and of course to threaten the people of Greenland. So we're going to check out how things are going there.
We heard more from our Washington correspondent Gary O'Donoghue about J.D. Vance's plans to visit Greenland.
He says in a video statement that he wasn't going to let his wife have all the fun, and he wants to, quote, check out the security situation there. So he's going to go to this military base, which is America's most northerly base in the northwest of the island, where they do sort of missile surveillance and space surveillance. I think it's slightly out of the blue in the sense that, this was just